That's,
Okay, is this second that one? I'm still, it's not here. You got
well,
one? Okay.
with the sound of the gavel, we begin. This is the open session to hear public comments before closed session. Roll call, please.
Councilmember McLaughlin,
Here.
Councilmember Robinson,
Here.
Councilmember Willis,
Here.
Mayor Martinez,
Here.
Councilmember Zepeda is absent, Councilmember Bana and Vice Mayor Jimenez are also absent. During closed session, the council will discuss the following item. Conference with real property negotiator. The property is Point Malati, site of former Naval Shipyard Depot. Agency negotiators, David Alshire, negotiating parties, East Bay Regional Park District and Tribe, and Upstream Point Malati LLC. Under negotiation are the price and terms of payment. We do have in-person speakers. If there's anyone that would like to address the council that's joining us online, will you please raise your hand at this time? We'll hear the speakers in person first, and then we'll move to our online speakers. The speakers.
Point of information, Councilmember Zepeda has shown up.
Thank you. The speakers are David Helvarg, Tony Hanna, Sally Tobin, Tony Wright, Norma LaForce, Regina Gilligan, Debbie Bayer, Tim Laidman, and Robert Cheesty. Please come forward. You'll have 2 minutes to address the council. David Helvarg.
Hi.
Press the red button, please. There you go.
Great. First, could everybody hold up their sign so we can get a picture? I pulled my Save Point Malati sign out of my front window after years, added the D, saved our Point Malati. Now, technically that doesn't happen until 10 o'clock after your closed session, but, and I'd like to acknowledge a sad part of this, which is we're having to spend $40 million of limited public funds to buy back our public hands, to keep our public lands in public hands. And that's just the unfortunate nature of late-stage capitalism when we have more speculation than innovation. But the reality is, you know, when I moved here 18 years ago, a young lad of just 55, I was kind of shocked to find out that 5 of our 7 city council were supporting a casino. So my Blue Frontier group, we sponsored Citizens for a Sustainable Point Malati. We took it to a vote. The citizens of Richmond were overwhelmingly opposed to a casino, and eventually Citizens for Sustainable Point Malati became the Point Malati Alliance, and we had to fight again when the failed casino developers partnered with land speculators from Southern California. And they were defeated, and they're, you know, and we're having to pay out because we had bad management in the city for a time. The kind of people who Upton Sinclair was talking about when he said that it's hard for some men to understand something when their salary depends on not understanding it. So those folks are going to say, oh, the city lost $22 million by not selling off our public resources. In fact, we saved the city from financial ruin. The bait and switch was we would have spent $300 million for a bond to support a housing development that wasn't sustainable, that wouldn't have happened. Instead, we're doing what we should have done 20 years ago. Thanks to this city council, we put out newspapers, everything that hopefully helped.
Your time has expired. Your time has expired, sir.
And thank you all, and please join us at the Armistice Pub at 6 this evening to celebrate a great victory.
Mr. Helvarg, thank you. Tony Hanna.
Hi, I'm a 21-year Richmond resident, and I've been in residential real estate here just as long. I want to speak in favor of the sale going through, and I'd like to speak about cost effectiveness. By ratifying this deal, the city of Richmond saves millions in maintenance fees, in remediation, cleanup, and then we get an incredible regional park. It's going to really uplift the community, provide opportunities for the youth and hikers, and the wildlife. So speaking in favor of making Point Melati a park and accepting this deal that's on the table. Thank you very much.
Sally Tobin.
I'm Sally Tobin. I've been a Richmond resident since 2013. And I'm really excited today because you have the opportunity to make a long-term investment in Richmond. In contrast to the kind of more get-rich-quick schemes that have been proposed, even though it's going to cost some money because of those schemes, I'm really encouraged, and especially because East Bay Regional Park District commissioned a study a few years ago that indicated that for every dollar that was spent on a regional park, that $4 were generated for the community at large. So this will really be a boost for Richmond economically. It's also an investment in Richmond's youth, and we really want Point Melati to be used for recreation, for education, for relaxation, and for conservation. And we've tried everything else. So thank you very much.
Tony Wright.
He thinks he's on the soccer field.
Putting on his Superman cape.
Hi, my name is Tony Wright. I just want to mention that I'm a Richmond resident since 1990. I live in Richmond. I work in Berkeley. I am in support of Point Melati. My organization has 47 coaches in our program. 40 of them live in Richmond. We run a program that has, I think, 2,100 kids. Over 350 of those kids live in Richmond. Creating an environment at Point Richmond where kids can play and can participate in sports will be beneficial to the community. As I look around the room here, most of us stop having kids, but we need to invest in the kids. There's no reason why Berkeley should enjoy a facility and Richmond, which is 6 miles away, not have a first-class facility. If we think about it in terms of Central Park in New York, we think about the Golden Gate Park, why not have Point Melati? We can have world-class soccer field. We can employ 40 kids with a payroll of over $700,000. I can work with the city to create an environment where the kids have good working environment, where they can do tutoring, where girls get equal playing time on proper fields. My organization and the coaches we have can put our expertise together to make Richmond a great place for kids. We have an opportunity at Point Richmond, and we shouldn't lose it. It's a really good investment in our children and in our future. Thank you very much for your time. And if you take a brief moment, I have some of my coaches here and some of my young kids. It's not about me, it's about them. And everything we do is for them. And I'm not just saying the words. I'm actually one of those people that actually walk in the walk. Thank you very much for your time.
Norman LaForce.
Good morning, Mayor and council members. I'm Norman LaForce. I speak on behalf of Sierra Club and Sprawl Deaf. I fully expect later today, just like they did in Philadelphia some 200 years ago, we're going to get news that'll make us all very happy. And we will rejoice that we finally will have a great regional park. I've heard some stuff along the Bay Trail grapevine about, well, gee, the Park District will do casinos or it'll do housing. Park District doesn't do casinos. It doesn't do housing. What about planning? The Park District has been very great on planning, just the example of the Bay Trail in Richmond and its cooperation with the city. The other example, Tom Bates Sports Fields. Those were created with a remarkable collection of people working together, including the Park District and the cities, Richmond included, to make that happen. So we're here for a great day. And I'll be blunt. I've been at this about 30 years. We, the people of Richmond and the East Bay, we got you the land. And we, the people of the East Bay, we got you the money to get this land. And today is your day to say to us, thank you very much. Now we're going to pay back to you all that work that you did and reward us as the people of the East Bay with a great regional park that'll make everybody in the Bay Area and around the world extremely happy, and they will want to know who are the people who voted for this. Okay, I don't want to have to do this another 30 years. I have 2 grandkids. I'm 72. You know, I hope to go for another 30 years, but not having to resave Point Melati. Okay, it's just too much. So today, make me happy, make all these people happy, make those kids happy, and let's go for it. Make it so. Thank you.
Regina Gilligan.
Hi, Mayor Martinez and City Council. Well, I'm here to support the East Bay Park taking over Point Melati. And there were 2 things that, I'm not a big speaker, but about a week ago, I went to swim over at Paradise Cove in Tiburon. And it was a submarine launch and mining search for the World War II. It's beautiful. It's been given over to the people. It's been, people use it for picnics, for swims on the beach. And I was looking over at our beautiful hills, but missing all the debris that's still there. And just thought, I want this here. I've lived here for 24 years. I've enjoyed the park. I have only once had the opportunity to get on the other side of the cyclone fence that blocks all the people of Richmond from the hills there. And I would like to see it just opened up for people. And as far as the East Bay Parks administering it, I was doing a search, not about East Bay Parks, but just parks in general. And East Bay Parks showed up as the premier regional park in the nation. I was like, whoa, who knew? So capable hands, that's what I hope you all vote for. Thank you.
Our next speaker is Debbie Bayer.
Hi, my name is Debbie Bayer, and I'm resident of Richmond, and this is Molly. She's a sea otter, a river otter, I'm so sorry, and she also lives part-time at Point Melati. So she is a resident of Richmond, and she's very happy that perhaps her dream of an unsullied water off of Point Melati, filled with birds and eelgrass, can happen and will happen, because it was the only way. I walk a lot in the East Bay Regional Parks. I go on Point Pinole, and I go on Tilden, and also, all of a sudden I can't remember the name of it, right above Richmond, in the hills above Richmond, Wildcat, and all the way to Lake Chabot. And I never ask myself, how did this happen? Why are these parks? You know, who did this? I don't know. I don't know the history. None of us know a lot of history. You know, we just are born into a situation that already exists. Well, over the last 20 years, I've seen how hard it is and how long it takes to make this kind of resource available to, I want to thank you. And now I feel like the hard work begins, which is making this park really effective for the people, putting in trails, putting in picnic tables and little shops. And so whatever is going to happen, I hope it's really beautiful and wonderful. And thank you very much for agreeing with the East Bay Regional Park settlement, which I hope you'll do. Thank you.
Our next speaker is Tim Laidman, and he'll be followed by Robert Chisi. He will be our last in-person speaker. If there's anyone online that would like to address the council before they adjourn to closed session, please raise your hand at this time. Tim Laidman.
Hi, my name is Tim Laidman, and I'm representing the Green Party County Council for Contra Costa County. And we strongly support and have supported for many, many years, maybe decades now, a park at Point Malati. Yesterday, there was a webinar for the 90th anniversary of the East Bay Regional Park District, and they talked about the history of the park. And they are, I believe, the largest park of this type. It spans 2 counties in the nation. I want to thank them for their wisdom in going forward in doing this, and the help of some of the legislators, Nancy Skinner, John Joya, and many others, and of course Richmond City Council, which has been in this since the beginning. And when we've had good people on the council, we got good actions, and we've had to repair some when we didn't have such good people on the council. I'd like to also thank and remember and maybe channel a little bit a good friend of 35 years of mine, Carol Telchek, who unfortunately, after decades of working on this issue, died of cancer and didn't get to see this day. And I'd like to say to Carol, you were a great part of this, and so many others. There's over 3,000 Green Party members in Contra Costa County, and many of them have been active on this issue, and not just people residing in Richmond, because it's an issue for the entire Bay Area. This is a world-class park that we'll get. I play soccer 3 times a week, even though I'm 72 years old, and that's why I'm in such good damn shape. But anyway, so I support my good friend Tony of many decades in East Bay, the parks, opening some soccer fields out there. Thank you very much.
Robert Cheesty.
Morning, Mayor and Council.
No, hit the red button. You're fine. Press the red button. Thank you.
Good morning, Mayor and Council. Robert Chasty. Speaking on behalf of the Audubon Society, Citizens for East Shore Parks, and numerous other community groups and environmental groups. I wanted to bring your attention. I handed out an edition of the Richmond Community News, and below the fold, there's a wonderful article about City Council protects city from financial ruin. And this was the action that was done by this City Council when a proposal came before the city to basically back a very, very, very shaky development, put the city at financial risk for $350 million, and in return, the city would get paid $22.5 million. I've never seen a payday loan worse than that. What I would like to say is I think the city is doing a very fiscally responsible thing here, getting the city a world-class park. If, in fact, it was true at one point that the developers were supposed to be willing to pay $45 million for this, then the price that the Park District paid for this at $40 million is actually a reasonable price. And what the city gets in return is a world-class park for free and gets all of the financial responsibilities that have been imposed on the city by maintaining and securing and taking care of Point Malati off its books. This is a great deal for the city, and it's a magnificent deal for the community. There are great parks, Golden Gate National Park, all kinds of wonderful parks. Richmond now will have a destination park. And for me, at my age, I hear a lot of other people are getting up in years. I've been working on this for more than 20 years. I don't want to have to work on it for the next 20. On the next 20, I want to do other great things in Richmond. So today's the day to say yes. And my friend Tony, I asked him if he wouldn't mind to bring some of the real, actual people that are doing the work with kids.
Your time has expired.
Now, they're here. This is their future, and you can say yes to it. And thank you for all your work. Oh, yeah.
Your time has expired, sir.
Armistice Pub tonight, 6 o'clock.
And now we'll move to our online speakers.
We have 5 online speakers. They are Jeannie Quartz, Sean Dunning, Paul Carmen, Pam Stello, and Jack Scheinman. You will each have 2 minutes to speak. Jeannie Quartz, you may begin.
Yes, good morning. Jeannie Courts, member of the Point Melody Alliance. I want to encourage all the city council members to vote in favor of Point Melody becoming an East Bay Regional Park. This is an opportunity to finally make Point Melody a park, an actual East Bay Regional Park for all Richmond and the Greater Bay Area to enjoy. After all the backdoor deals that were made by former Mayor Tom Butt with unscrupulous developers, it cost the city a lot of money and time. The majority of residents of Richmond look forward to Point Melody finally becoming an official regional park. I also want to thank all the volunteers who worked tirelessly for 20 years plus to make this dream a reality. Please vote for Point Melody East Bay Regional Park. Thank you so much for your time, efforts, and hard work.
Thank you. The next speaker is Sean Dunning.
Good morning. My name is Sean Dunning, and I'm a proud resident of Richmond, California, a diverse community of remarkable people from all walks of life. You know, given everything that's already been said this morning and a lot of other discussions going on social media and elsewhere, I have a simple observation to share. I'd like you to take it to heart. Regardless of where you see yourself on this issue, in terms of being for or against the item on the agenda, I'd like everyone to consider that it could have been possible for everyone gathered today to be celebrating something we could all believe in. Today, we could have been celebrating an agreement that would save Point Melody for all, that would also create an economic engine for the revitalization of Richmond, that would also honor the dignity of the Giddyville tribe, that would also provide recreational opportunities, that would also preserve and protect the environment, and everything else mentioned this morning. But instead, this has been treated as a zero-sum game, or rather a battle. Never at any point in time was there ever a process that included all stakeholders working toward a shared future. Instead, the tragic story of Point Melody is that of a series of battles. It's time to evolve beyond the mindset of fighting the good fight. Celebrating one's gain over another's loss is nothing less than an indication of failed leadership. You may be celebrating things, but ultimately it could have been better. And if it's hard for you to imagine a solution that would have satisfied everyone, it's simply because nobody tried. I hope we can all learn from this. Thank you.
Thank you. The next speaker is Paul Carmen. Paul, you may begin. Okay, we will come back to Paul. The next speaker is Pam Stello.
Good morning. My name's Pam Stello. I'm a co-chair of the Point Melody Alliance. More than ever, we need political leaders who can see the big picture. A yes vote today is just that. Over 27 years, independent studies have consistently shown that Point Melody cannot be developed as housing. The first housing proposal was voted down in 1997, and for some of the reasons, the others, including the most recent housing proposal, could not go forward. Has been part of the East Park Master Plan and designated as parkland in the Bay Conservation and Development Commission's Bay Plan. Point Melody Regional Park will contribute to closing the park equity gap in Richmond for youth and families, and no doubt change the course of many lives. Richmond is already experiencing the impacts of climate change. Point Melody's rare coastal prairie and subtidal eelgrass meadows are an important carbon sink. Eelgrass, one of the most efficient carbon sinks we have, mitigating rising temperatures and acidification of the bay waters. Regional parks are themselves a proven economic engine for cities like ours. It would cost billions to create this natural resource. A yes vote today is a vote for the big picture, supporting together Richmond's youth and families, economy, and our environmental support systems. Thank you to everyone who's fought so hard for 20 years for this park. Please vote yes today. Thank you.
Thank you. Paul Carmen?
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Oh, thank you. I encourage you all to vote yes to transfer this beautiful piece of land to the Park District. I'd like to really thank our governor, Nancy Skinner, and John Joya for coming up with this $36 million to make this possible. This is a fantastic day for us. I'd also like to thank the hard work of the previous speakers who did work tirelessly over decades to make this a possibility, and I really appreciate all of you. I'm going to respond to what Sean Dunning had said. There were 3 rigorous workshops that were conducted. So the idea that there wasn't input, that the community did not have input in this is false. Overwhelmingly, people in the workshop, they were for a park with various ideas for the Winehaven district, but certainly almost everyone was in agreement that the south end of this property should be a park. And so it's a happy day for all of us. He mentioned an economic engine. It wasn't anyone who's speaking now whose idea was to try to sell this land for $400 to upstream in the tribe. Okay, so the council has been functioning with an anchor on its foot based on really bad decisions that have been made over the last 20, 10, and 15 years. We're lucky to have this 36 million. It basically bailed us out. And in the end, the people of Richmond are getting what they deserve. And for people who are saying, oh, the city's losing this land, that's not true. We're all part of the Park District. The Park District is also part of us. It's a transfer from one
Thank you. Your
public
time has
beach.
expired. The next speaker is Jack Scheinman.
Yeah, hi, Jack Scheinman here. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, I just wanted to thank everybody in this room and outside of this room that's had a part in making this a reality. I've been going to Point Melati Beach Park for the last many years, multiple times a week, and I've seen it go from barely any visitors to a parking lot full on a Sunday afternoon. And I just think it's going to be great to see even more people enjoying this for the best open space in the Bay Area that nobody knows about, and they're going to know about it soon. So thank you again very much. Appreciate it.
Thank you. And that was our last speaker.
Okay. There's one hand that keeps going up and down. It's Aaron Freeman. So I'm not sure about that one. It just keeps going. But we do have 2 in-person speakers that signed up for the wrong item. Alex Mazowit and Roger Hutto. So they'll have 2 minutes to address the council. Alex, please come forward.
Good morning, City Council. Alice Mazuet, Richmond resident in Building Woods. So Point Molade is public land, one of the very last bastions in the Bay Area of incredible biodiversity with a magnificent ecosystem that benefits a great many species of flora and fauna on land, in the air, and at sea. There are many advantages to voting yes. A lot of people have already pointed those out, and I would like to reiterate that for the people as a whole, Richmond families, friends, and visitors would finally have access to a beautiful park and a variety of educational activities. Council member, by voting yes, you are standing strong against reckless developers, corporate bankers, and real estate oligarchs who want to grab land with no regards and no respect to a city's asset and its people's well-being. Please know that voting yes, you are standing strong so that Point Molade can continue to be there for everyone and for itself. Know that a yes vote will also act as a model and contribute to people's efforts all over the globe to establish new, resilient, equitable, and humane grounds for social and environmental justice. I cannot thank you enough for that. Thank you.
And Roger Huddle.
I have submitted a letter to the council and staff from Whitehaven Legacy LLC strenuously objecting to this unlawful proposed letter of intent. And I simply want to make sure that that letter, to the extent that I can get through it, is part of the record. Dear Mayor, City Council members, City Manager, and City Attorney, we understand that you intend to hold a special meeting to consider directing staff to enter into a letter of intent, LOI, regarding the sale of 81.56 acres of developable land, the property at Point Malate, to the East Bay Regional Parks District. Under the proposed LOI, the city would walk away from the city's interest in the property, including 50% of the proceeds of any sale by the tribe and its development entity upstream. Under the LOI, the entirety of the proceeds would remain in the hands of the tribe upstream. As described below, the LOI would constitute an additional breach of the city's legal obligations and provide further evidence of the city's prior breaches of its agreements with Whitehaven, fail to provide sorely needed housing as well as economic development for the community in contravention of the Whitehaven agreements, the city's general plan, zoning, the amended federal court judgment, and the express terms and conditions of the city's acquisition of the property from the U.S. Navy, and constitute a violation of the fiduciary duties owed to the city by undervaluing the property and exposing the city's general fund to the full measure of damages in the Whitehaven litigation. I'm not able to finish reading the full letter in my allotted time, but have provided copies of the letter to the mayor and council members.
Thank you. And then, Mayor, we do have one more speaker, and that was Aaron Freeman. The hand that kept going up. So go ahead and call the speaker, Ursula.
Aaron Freeman, you may begin.
I just wanted to continue on Roger's comments. Moreover, adopting the LOI in a special council meeting would be misguided. The council once again seeks to decide an important issue affecting the future of Point Malate in a hastily scheduled Friday special meeting reveals the city's strategy of minimalizing the public's opportunity to evaluate the city's misconduct. The staff report fails to establish any actual exigency for the LOI and the forfeiture of the city's half interest in the property. Regrettably, the city's intent appears once again to be to avoid any public input or scrutiny about its mishandling of Point Malate. The LOI highlights the city's breaches of its agreements with Whitehaven. It also violates the city's general plan, zoning, the amended judgment, and basis for the U.S. Navy's relinquishment of Point Malate. The LOI would breach the council's fiduciary duties, and Whitehaven strenuously objects to the city council's consideration of the LOI and reserves all rights to pursue all available legal remedies under the law against the city and its agents and employees. Thank you.
Thank you, and that was our last speaker.
That was our last speaker, Mayor.
So that's it for this section. We will now close open forum for this section and go into closed session. We'll talk to you later. We are now beginning the special council meeting of the Richmond City Council. We will start with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Roll call.
Councilmember McLaughlin?
Here.
Councilmember Robinson?
Here.
Councilmember Willis?
Here.
Councilmember Zepeda?
Here.
Mayor Martinez?
Here.
And Councilmember Bana and Vice Mayor Jimenez are absent. Our next item is Statement of Conflict of Interest. Are there any? Hearing none. Our next item is Agenda Review. Any changes to the agenda?
We're ready to roll.
Okay. Our next item is a report from the city attorney of final decisions during closed session, and our city attorney is online.
So the council met in closed session concerning real property negotiations on the Point Melody property, and there was no reportable action taken.
Okay, our next item is under new business. The only item is to approve it and approve entering into the letter of intent and execution by the mayor with any financial technical changes made by the city attorney. And this is regarding disposition of 81.56 acre developable property at former Point Melody Naval Facility by letter of intent.
Thank you.
So, Mr. Mayor, are you ready for me to proceed?
Yes, I am. Please.
Okay, thank you. So I think from this property has a very long history from the testimony you had before the closed session. People are quite familiar with a lot of that history. So I'm not going to start at the beginning when it was transferred from the Navy to the city. But I think the place to start is there's certainly been a different vision concerning the uses, potential uses of the property. I think that our current council has had a different vision than perhaps prior councils. As was stated in the public comments, at one point, this was seen as a site for a casino. The community did, through a vote, reject that use. Because of that transaction, the city got involved in litigation with the Giddyville tribe and Upstream, who were the proponents of that project. That litigation ultimately led to a what's called the amended judgment in federal court. Under that that agreement, which was negotiated again with the council at that point in time, there were a number of restrictions that were made a part of that transaction. The amended judgment provided that the city would have an opportunity to find a developer for the property, and that the land value would be shared 50-50 between the tribe and the city. And that if by a certain date, an agreement was not reached with a developer, then the tribe got the ability to purchase the property. There's 4 different parcels. They could be collectively purchased for $400, and the tribe would have 5 years to find a developer. And with regards to that developer and the sale by the tribe, the city would get half the proceeds. So the city went through its period of time to find a developer, and the developer that was focused on was a subsidiary of SunCal called Winehaven Legacy. I will refer to it as SunCal because the Winehaven term is used in other contexts. So the developer was Winehaven Legacy, but a subsidiary of SunCal. That project went forward with a number of entitlements. There was a subdivision map. There was a development agreement. There was basically a disposition agreement. We'll call it a purchase agreement. And the development agreement got approved by the city. Various other approvals were given. The purchase sale agreement had some terms to it. The terms included the potential under the development agreement, potential financing that would be provided, but the developer had some very specific requirements. They had to come up with a financing plan. They had to provide the evidence that they had the resources to close. They had to provide a guarantor to back up the obligations. The city went through a lengthy process of trying to figure out a financing plan. One of the conditions of the financing plan was that it was not to impact the general fund. The SunCal sales price was $45 million. And so splitting that 50-50 with the tribe was $22.5 million which would be received by each party. And again, there was this date certain by which all of this had to get approved or the property had to be sold to the tribe. So in working on that, there were various financial studies by various parties. And those studies showed that there were assumptions that had to be made in terms of coming up with a financing plan. And those assumptions dealt with the number of housing units, the value of the housing units, and so forth. The project was over 1,200 residential units. Ultimately, in going through the financial studies, the city disapproved the proposed community facilities district. The city council concluded that there was significant potential that the general fund would be impacted. There's a huge amount of infrastructure that was necessary on what's a very narrow road at this point and not in good condition. There was a huge amount of infrastructure that had to be built. There was also a fire station, a police substation. So taking all these costs, the city did not approve the CFD, and the developer, when the city still proceeded to ask the developer to come up with a financing plan that would work and to also provide the financial security for the project to be able to go forward. At the critical council meeting 2 years ago, the developer did not come forward with a revised financing plan. The developer did not produce a guarantor to assure the financing. The developer did not show that they had the funds available to close the project. So based upon all of this, the city did not go forward and approve the sale to the developer. And instead, under the amended judgment, we turned to the issue of the sale to the tribe. And we worked, we certainly, prior to that time, had a litigious relationship with the tribe, but we worked over 30 days to pull everything together to sell to the tribe. And that sale did occur in August. And the sale price was $400, and it then gave the tribe 5 years to try and find their own developer. However, I think very significantly, and it's quoted in the staff report, at the time the city approved going forward with the sale to the tribe, in the June 21st, 2022 staff report, so just over 2 years ago, the staff report really contained the city's vision. And that vision was, I quote, "The city should initiate the process of determining if there is a public or non-private entity willing to accept conveyance of the open space and make a commitment to open it for public use, manage it, and maintain it at no cost to the city of Richmond. At least 3 entities have expressed such interest. 1, East Bay Regional Parks District. 2, the John Muir Land Trust. And number 3, the Trust for Public Land." We had received inquiries by these entities during these stages. And so this expression, at the same time we sold to the tribe, and the tribe was free to find a developer and try and find the best economic return. That was their right. What the council put out there was that we wanted to initiate a process to find a public or nonprofit who would use it for park, recreation, open space purposes. So it was the council's vision 2 years ago to try and find such an entity instead of an entity that was going to develop for the greatest economic return. The council wanted to find the greatest social and community benefit return. So actually, where we are today, 2 years removed, is this has come about exactly as the council intended. We found a partner, which was the East Bay Regional Park District, and that's the letter of intent that's being presented today. Now, in my own opinion, accomplishing this in 2 years after the years and years, which many of you are familiar with, where the vision and the long-term use was did not have a clear direction. I think that it's remarkable that in 2 years we've been able to accomplish this, but it has been certainly a challenge. So one aspect of this that was important is that SunCal did then sue the city over the fact that we didn't sell to them, and also tried to block the sale to the tribe. They actually went to court to try and get an injunction and prevent the sale to the tribe. The court found that they were not likely to succeed in terms of getting an injunction, and also found that that the city had good cause for the various the fact that the developer had not performed the obligations necessary to have the sale take place. So the court denied the attempt to block the sale. At the same time, there was another piece of litigation going on, which was that what I'll call the alliance litigation. There were several entities out there, and of course, during the remarks today, they took some credit for getting us where we are, but they sued over the environmental determination, the EIR for the project. They basically said the EIR was inadequate. There were things that were not properly analyzed. They lost the trial court. They continued on. At the point in time that they continued on with the Court of Appeal, the developer, SunCal, stopped paying the city's bills. And this might have been a good reason for the city to stop defending the litigation. There were people that certainly suggested that. We felt that that was a lawsuit we didn't want to have with them. So we felt we should go forward and defend the CEQA action. But the Court of Appeal determined that, reversed the trial court, determined that this was, the EIR was inadequate, and directed the trial court to direct the city to rescind all the entitlements. And the trial court gave us 120 days to rescind those entitlements. And they have been rescinded. So those approvals that the court, that the developer had obtained, upon which they claimed the value of their project, those approvals were rescinded. The city did not try and cause that result. We actually defended without the developer paying the bills. The developer breached its agreement. We defended, and the court still determined that the EIR was inadequate and ordered the entitlements reversed, and we have reversed those entitlements. The action we're taking today doesn't do anything with regards to the SunCal litigation. It's still out there, but we feel that the original the injunction, the court was favorable to us. We feel that it's clear that the developer did not produce value, given that the EIR was reversed. So there is a lawsuit. It will continue, but we feel good about the position the city is in the defense of that matter. So the other event that came along that is very important in how this has worked out is that the state decided through Senator Skinner, SB 179, $36 million was allocated for the acquisition of this land as open space and park and recreation purposes. The people that are saying that somehow the city is putting out $40 million for the acquisition of this property, that's a rumor. It's false. That's not the part of the transaction. The bulk of the funding for this is coming from the state of California through the $36 million. The district is providing another $4 million. That's how you get to 40. The city is not providing any of that $40 million. Now, there's some explanation there, but that's being said out there. It was said in the remarks today, and it's wrong. I'd say that a year of the 2 years since the city's action, I would say we've spent a year of that time with the tribe trying to find a developer. Various developers came and talked to the city. We shared information. We told them what the status of things were, but we kept saying to the tribe, we think it could be used for park and open space purposes. Now that there's 36 million out there, that's really your best way to go. So we, gently advocated for the outcome that we've achieved here. The tribe ultimately came back and took a position that was hard on the city. Under the amended judgment, again, the proceeds are supposed to be split 50-50. So the tribe came back. If it was a $40 million deal to sell the property, If the city got 50%, that would have been 20 million bucks. The tribe came back and said they thought the property was worth 50 million or more. And that settling for 40 was a deal back to the district. The district had an appraisal that for the entire property is higher than 40. So the tribe said they're making a deal for us, and the only way they make that deal is they're not willing to do a 50-50 split. And they said that if the city surrendered its share, it would create enough economic value back to the tribe that they would go with the lower price of the 40 million, and they would consider selling to the district. So that's the hard decision that got put to the council in the negotiations, particularly over the last 6 months. And ultimately, we tried getting higher percentages at various points in time. We were talking about, well, maybe we would drop our percentage to 30%. Maybe we would drop to 10%. Ultimately, the tribe took a hardline position that our share, they wanted 100% of the 40 million bucks. So your council had a tough decision to make. They had these decades of trying to achieve this vision, the vision that they expressed 2 years ago. And the problem is the alternative that the council had was if after 5 years the tribe couldn't find a developer, then the tribe came back to us. We would give them back the 400 bucks and it would be our property. But that alternative meant that the tribe still had 3 years to try and find a developer. If the developer had a project that we were not happy with, we could be back into doing another EIR, another development agreement, litigation with outside parties, litigation with the tribe. So one pathway had lots of cost, lots of time, lots of trouble associated with it. The other pathway had $36 million to pay the bulk of what the tribe would receive. The state of California is basically funding the acquisition of the property. We had a partner that was lined up that is committed to park and recreational purposes. And we actually have a lot of cost that could be moved over. And the 36 million is not going to sit here for 3 years waiting for us. Probably most of you know the state's had significant budget problems. It's not even clear if it was 6 months from now whether the money would still be here. But we are told that the money, as of today, the money is still there. It's still available. So one pathway is nothing, we don't know what the outcome is, and we face major litigation and problems trying to deal with the tribe's vision of how the property should be developed, versus we have funding, it's in place, it's not coming from us, and it makes the deal happen. Now, the other aspect are cost avoided. The park district started off, they were only going to buy half of the property. They were not going to buy the Wine Haven portion of the property, which has historic structures on it. We actually have been sued over whether we're properly maintaining those historic structures. The long-term cost of a plan to take care of the historic structures is unknown. So there's an unknown cost associated with retaining the historic structures. Moreover, the city is currently spending about $1 million a year on security and maintenance of the property and on remediation. The Navy gave us money to remediate the property. The money has largely been spent, and there are still costs out there. There are still things that need to be done. And it is likely that the cost of the remediation is going to exceed the remaining money that we have. So the city, in going forward and taking the state money, the pluses for us are, again, 36 million from the state. The district agrees to take over, as of the date of closing, the district will take over the remediation. They'll take over the maintenance of the property. That's saving us at least $1 million a year. And all of our litigation issues with the tribe go away. The agreement is that on closing, the amended judgment will disappear, be dissolved. The tribe waives any claims against us. So it's true the SunCal litigation is there, but all of the last years that have been spent in litigation with the tribe, that is resolved. And then the other aspect is that our partner is extremely capable, has an incredible track record, and doing the kinds of things that the city is interested in. We believe that we could not have found a better partner to deal with the development of this property as a jewel in the Bay Area, to make it a very well-known location, and to provide not only facilities for the region, but more particularly our tremendously underserved residents of Richmond, who again have come forward today to express their needs. And make no mistake, going down this road is directed to create the sorts of facilities that will be model facilities and make Richmond residents proud and well served. So the last, I've gone on a bit here, but let me cover more specifically the terms of the LOI and then what happens from here. So the terms of the LOI, again, the district started off just to buy half the property and not deal with Point Mulati, with the historic Winehaven area. But now they've agreed to go forward with the entire property. The city does retain open space areas that were not a subject to the development agreement. The federal judgment, as I said, goes away. It's dissolved at closing and is no further force in effect. And if we don't close, we're back to the 50-50 formula and dealing with the tribe for a few more years. There's a due diligence period where we will develop the purchase sale agreement and the specific contracts necessary to go forward. This is a non-binding letter of intent. The Coastal Conservancy does have control of the 36 million, and they are their next meeting that they could consider is the meeting in September. And I'll talk a moment why we're having a special meeting to move this forward quickly. There's a maintenance agreement. The district needs to ramp up in terms of their personnel and how they're going to deal with the maintenance and security of the property. They've asked the city to continue doing that for up to a year. And so the limitation is that we'll do it for up to a year, but not at a cost over $400,000. So there's a cap on what we would spend on the interim maintenance responsibilities. Also, the remediation effort of the property, we will give them at closing, we will give them the remaining Navy money, and the remediation thereafter is on them. There's a good faith deposit. The district will deposit $1 million within 10 days after execution. 250 is non-refundable to the tribe. There's another $1 million that the district is going to pay for legal fees. And then finally, there's language in the agreement for those of you who check out the LOI. There is language dealing with the cooperation. It's obviously the district's facility, but we're going to have a stakeholders group. We're going to have the city can appoint an advisory committee. The district commits at all the key milestones. They're going in developing a park plan. They're going to share with the city's planning commission, the Parks and Rec Commission, the stakeholders, the advisory committee. And I think it's very important that for what's been accomplished over the last 2 years, it won't mean anything without a really strong relationship between the district and the city to develop a plan and then develop funding and develop these facilities that the Richmond community is so looking forward to seeing. So I think it's that commitment by the two public agencies is very critical. So the last thing to cover here is what happens now. The district's next next meeting of the Coastal Conservancy is first week of September. They want to see a signed LOI before they post the agenda for that meeting, and they have to post their agendas 30 days in advance. So they have to post their agenda in the first week of August. Besides seeing a signed LOI, which we should have in a couple days, besides seeing that, they need to have the appraisal that was done that supports the price reviewed, and that will take them several weeks. So the reason for our meeting today, and that the district will have this on their agenda on the 16th, on Tuesday, we want to be able to be authorized to sign the LOI, and we need to then submit the appraisal so that the Coastal Conservancy has 2 to 3 weeks to go through the appraisal. So then they can post their agenda on the first week in August. So that's why this meeting has been called as a special meeting, so we can make the Conservancy's agenda. And then after that, the proposal is that we will close escrow on this sometime in November or early December. And what we need to do between now and then is go from the letter of intent to the specific signed agreements, the purchase sale agreement, and other documents necessary to close the transaction. So you can see how important this is to everybody, that on this short notice, we got a good turnout to listen to this. And I know this has been happening kind of under the radar, behind the scenes. People haven't exactly known what's going on. And the council is very committed to transparency and wanted to be sure that we gave a thorough and complete report about what this transaction looks like and why it came about. And it's obvious that the detractors are going to say that the city could have gotten $22.5 million by selling to SunCal. And if we hadn't given up our half of this transaction, maybe that would have been 20 million bucks. But hopefully from my explanation, you can understand the council would have liked to have gotten money to use for its many financial needs. But the other parties to the transaction were, well, the tribe was willing to not make this deal and go on and try and find a developer. And they kept saying that they were pretty sure that there were other developers out there that would pay them more than the 40 million. The city's decision to give up its share, which is, it's not general fund money we're giving up. We're giving up the right to have received money if there was a deal. But if there wasn't a deal, we didn't have a right to anything. For all the reasons I've said, the vision of the park, getting out of the expenses that were a huge burden to the city, getting out of trying to fix all the historic structures out there that have unknown cost, and for the remediation, which there's not sufficient funding for at this point in time, and finding an entity so well prepared with such a great track record as the district, and with the state putting $36 million into the equation, the council's feeling was this opportunity is not going to come around again, and we had to grab it while we could. So hopefully the community understands everything that we went through and the challenges that were faced, and concurs with the council in the decision that was made. So I'm happy to answer questions.
Thank you. I'll share. We appreciate the explanation. And I believe all questions for the city council were answered in closed session. And it's time to hear from the public. So I'm opening up public comment.
Okay, we have 12 in-person speakers. If there's anyone joining us online that would like to address the council on this item, please raise your hand at this time. You'll have 2 minutes to address the council. When your time expires, please terminate your address to the council. Our speakers are Diana Ware, Norman LaForce, Sally Tobin, Martha Gurrell, Tarno Abbott, Nina Smith, Jim Hansen, Javanka Beckles, Robert Cheesty, Marilyn Langlois, David Helvarg, and our last speaker will be Colin Coffey. Diana Ware.
Thank you. My name is Diana Ware, and I'm a Richmond resident here since 1992. I want to cite a chapter title from Councilmember McLaughlin's book, Winning Richmond. It's titled Point Mulatty, A Love Story, which she recounts the early years of this struggle. And I also serve on the Economic Development Commission. And you could think that I might be wanting to talk today about all the money that we're going to receive from the real estate transfer taxes, or saving the $1 million from maintenance and security. But it's really about winning Richmond. It's about providing for access to this amazing, beautiful park with enormous potential for our people. It's not just a sentimentality about love, but it's in action that we save the land, this precious landscape that's going to be available to all our residents and other people as well. And it's vital for our city. A vote for Point Mulatty today represents doing the right thing at long last for this precious piece of land in our beautiful city. Thank you.
Norman LaForce.
Norman LaForce, behalf of Sierra Club and SprawlDef, I think the city attorney, Mr. Alshire, gave an excellent summary of the background and the benefits of this letter of intent and the deal. The Park District, from my experience over some 40 years, is certainly a partner that you would want to have for such a deal. They have a good track record in terms of knowing what to do on how to plan parks and to work with people and stakeholders, and also to handle issues like the complications that'll probably come up with, over the Winehaven site. You can't go wrong in this regard, and I think Mr. Alshire's basic summary that this is essentially a deal that needs to be made, should be made, can be made, and will end 30 some odd years of litigation and issues, and get us a great regional park and provide the city with a way to go forward in a positive, constructive way with regard to Point Mulati, and with the East Bay Regional Park District. So you can't go wrong doing this deal, in my opinion, personally. Thank you very much.
Our next speaker is Norman LaForce, followed by Sally Tobin. Oh, I'm sorry.
I'm not Norman LaForce. Okay, so I'd like to just say that I really appreciate your courage in grappling with these issues and meeting things head on. And I was kind of engaged in a few conversations during closed sessions, and the term that kept coming up was PTSD. So, and I think that's probably true of members of the council as well as the audience. That so I'm just really, really grateful that this situation seems to have been dealt with so beautifully, and I'm looking forward to dealing with the excellent East Bay Regional Park District. Thank you.
Martha Gurrell, followed by Tarnell Abbott.
Good morning. My name is Martha Gruelle. I'm a Richmond resident, and I want to add my voice to those thanking the current council as well as former city leaders who have stood by this vision for all this time, and thanking, of course, the city staff, so hardworking, and of course, the many community members who are here or could not be here, who have stood by this vision for so long. My small comment to make is people quibble about the money. Maybe you didn't make enough money off of this deal. A, their math is wrong, and B, it's your job to watch after our finances, and it's not just about the money. Keeping hold of our precious natural resources for the people of Richmond, that is priceless. Thank you.
Tarnell Abbott, followed by Nina Smith.
Hi, Tarnell Abbott, Richmond resident. I've spent my entire life visiting Point Mulati, which is certainly a crown jewel on our shoreline. I want to thank the City Council and the City Attorney for moving forward on this and persevering through all this. It's been a really torturous thing. I think it is the fiscally responsible thing to do. I think that has been demonstrated. It will save us millions of dollars, frankly. And this community deserves a great park, and it will be a great park. It's the best use for this precious resource for future generations, and not only for the people of the East Bay, Richmond, and the future people, but also for the wildlife and for saving the eelgrass that feeds the little fish and the little crabs and all the little creatures that live near the shoreline. It's the nursery for those little animals that would be harmed if a major housing development were built there. So, and it's also, it really brings me great joy to have been part of this torturous process, in the sense that as a community, we have held community sponsored events where hundreds of people have come to support our work in trying to preserve Point Mulati as a public entity for the public, because we do believe that public lands should be in public hands. We never should have sold Point Mulati. We did it at a fire sale when the city was close to bankruptcy, and that was a real shame. That was the first mistake. So I hope you vote for this. Thank you so much.
Nina Smith, and followed by Jim Hansen.
Hi, been a resident of Richmond since 1987. I served on the Point Mulati Advisory Board. I've been doing this fight for at least 20 years. I'm feeling very emotional today. And it's really nice to have a city attorney who I can actually understand. I just want to say that. But you know, I don't see any argument against this. It's clear this property is not developable. The idea that somebody would pay millions of dollars for a condo that you have to drive right through the Chevron refinery pipelines and through the traffic jam, I mean, it's crazy, and it's been proven in the last 20 years that it is not going to produce the kind of economic plans that our previous council thought it would. And this is obviously what needs to happen. And as far as giving up the $20 million share of the purchase price, well, that money, $36 million of that is coming from the state taxpayers. We are the state taxpayers. So why should the city of Richmond get half of it? You know, it makes sense that it's not like we're giving up our own money. It's going to be a park that everybody in the state benefits from. So I don't think there's a downside. I'm glad to see this council in this position, and I thank everyone who's worked so hard. And I also want to just bring the memory of Carol Telchik to this room. Carol and my husband Charles and Gail were the very first people to start fighting against the casino idea back 20 years ago. And thank you, Gail, for all of your struggle. And thank you, Carol. And thank you, Charles. He's hiding in the back.
Jim Hansen, who'll be followed by Javanka Beckles. Start.
Yeah. Do I hit something? We're
no,
okay.
Just
All right,
start
thank
speaking.
you. Mayor and Council, first of all, thank you to Gail. Just a sec. Mention Carol gets to me. So thank you to each of you. Eduardo, I remember when you voted against that settlement agreement to give away this property for $400 in Melvin. I just need to call out some people. I remember when you voted against that development agreement that would have our city on the hook for this huge infrastructure cost. It did not add up. So I appreciate this. You know, looking forward, you know, this is, I just want to say if we go through this is a handsome deal the tribe and upstream can give something back. If we're here all these years of being dragged through litigation, let's all do something for all of California. They can do that, all right? But we know that once that casino thing started, which none of you, I think, would have supported, and those of you on the council did not. That was a history of litigation and legal costs to the city. And then when that development agreement went through, you had to support it. And you did, because you had to. That was the deal that was made ahead of you. This has been expensive all along, and that's not been your choice. It's not been any of our choice. So maybe it is time to hit the reset button, clear those decks, have a capable agency develop something that's healthy.
Thank you. Javanka Beckles, followed by Robert Cheesty.
Good morning, council members. Mayor, thank you so much. My name is Javanka Beckles. I'm so proud to be a Richmond resident, and I'm so proud of our city. Richmond has a rich history of fighters for justice and equity, and not being afraid to do what's right. From Black Americans who migrated here for a better life, to Barbara Vincent and her husband Jay, who campaigned for public access of the 33 miles of Richmond shoreline that was initially primarily owned by private industry in the 50s, to current activists, grassroots organizations, community members, and council members who work tirelessly to save Point Mulati. Our community has historically fought to keep open space for all. I think about the late, great Whitney Dotson, Sylvia McLaughlin, and Carol Telchick. I thank them, and I thank you. Now, Councilmember McLaughlin stated so eloquently that 20-plus years of community organizing, continuously bringing to the forefront the hopes and dreams of our resident for a major park at Point Mulati have once again demonstrated that with hard work and perseverance, dreams can and do come true. And as been stated over and over again, I reiterate the fact that the city has been spending up to $1 million annually on maintenance and security and environmental remediation at the park, with other expenses like preservation of this historic structure. So relieving the city of that burden, that ongoing obligation, is a major benefit to the city. I'm proud to have been on the council during the beginning stages of this fight 14 years ago, although it started long before I got it, but I was a part of it 14 years ago. And it's been a long, long process. So I thank you, council members. I thank you, Mayor, for finally voting yes. Finally. Thank you so much.
Robert Cheesty, followed by Marilyn Langlois.
Mayor and council, I've spoken earlier, so I'll be brief. First, I want to say happy birthday to Mayor Eduardo Martinez. It's his birthday today. And I'm sure you all, everybody in Richmond, joins in wishing him another 100 years of wonderful life. That said, I want to endorse the comments of the city attorney, who went on at length, but thoroughly laid out what the choices were and how we got to where we are. And it's not often that a city attorney does that. I've lived through at least 4 or 5 city attorneys in Richmond. He's the first one I can say is doing a good job for the city of Richmond. And I just want to say one other thing. There was before the closed session, there was a comment by somebody who's run for city council that the process could have been better and we didn't have a proper process and that this is not the right way to do it and so on. And that's all bunk. It's absolute nonsense. First, what minimal process that was allowed under Mayor Butt produced substantial community input not to go forward with this crazy plan. Second, I represent Citizens for East Shore Parks and many, many community groups, including the Point Mulati Alliance, and we offered at our cost to produce to the city 2 different economic expert teams to come in after they had done an analysis on our dollar to present to the city the problems with this crazy plan that they had, which was rife with difficulties and could have been stopped immediately, and Mayor Butt refused to allow them to come to present to the city. So to say that there wasn't an open process, everyone in this room has worked with—
Your time has expired, sir.
Don't forget to come to the armistice at 6 o'clock.
Marilyn Langlois, followed by David Helvarg.
Hello, everyone. Marilyn Langlois, 22-year Richmond resident. Thank you all. Thank you to the city attorney for his very clear and thorough report. It's been a long struggle. Councilmember McLaughlin, you have been involved in it as an elected official since you joined the council in 2005. The rest of you have been involved also for varying lengths of time, and I really appreciate that. I assume you're going to vote to approve the LOI. Thank you for making this tough decision. It's the right decision. Thank you.
David Helvarg.
Hi, on behalf of Point Melody Alliance, Blue Frontier, and myself, I just want to thank you. After almost 20 years, I finally have a city council made up of adults and who reflect the needs, desires, and future of the people of Richmond. And just to know that something good's going to happen in 2024 is a reassurance in the midst of our climate catastrophe, political uncertainty, the threat of celebrity fascism. We have to practice triage, save what we can while we can, and sometimes you just save the earth 400 acres at a time. And this is what we're doing. Thank you. And see you, buy a beer at 6 o'clock at Armistice.
Our last in-person speaker is Colin Coffey. If there's any speakers online that would like to address the council on this item, please raise your hand at this time. Colin Coffey.
Thank you for the opportunity. Colin Coffey. I am here today representing the Board of Directors of the East Bay Regional Park District. Our board president, Elizabeth Eccles, is at a summer camp with her daughter up in the Sierras and regrets that she wasn't able to be here, but asked me to represent our Board of Directors and thank you and welcome all of you to this new and exciting partnership with our park district, through which we all together are going to develop a world-class crown jewel of shoreline parks in the Bay Area. I have no doubt of that. I want to say to you, Mayor, happy birthday. This is I think, a pretty good birthday present, and it will be, I can predict, approved unanimously by our board Tuesday, and we will move on, as has been suggested by there, to close this deal and have it hopefully all done by the end of the year. I want to thank CESPA, the Sierra Club, Point Melody Alliance, Norman LaForce, and Robert Chasty for their decades of work that makes today possible. I want to thank the governor, Secretary Crowfoot, the park director, state park director Armando Quintero, Supervisor John Joya, all for their contributions to this, and especially Nancy Skinner and our general manager, Sabrina Landreth. The Gidiville tribe shares this vision with us, and I want to thank that the tribe and all the folks on their team that made this possible. So thank you again. The fun starts when we get to design, all of us, everyone in this room, a world-class park with our planners. Thank you. Looking forward to it.
That was our last in-person speaker, and now we'll move to the speakers online. And right now we have 3 speakers.
And the speakers are Doria, Paul Carmen, and Sean Dunning. Doria, you may begin, and please state your last name for the record.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, you may begin.
Yeah, Doria Mueller-Beilschmidt, born and raised in California, rural California. Been in the Bay Area since the 70s, mid-70s, and a Richmond resident since the beginning of the 90s. And I found Melody Park, Point Melody fairly quickly, and like many, fell in love. I want to thank the city council, the city attorney for that. I think stellar, very understandable overview of how complicated this time has been, but so many others. And I appreciate the last speaker. I speak all the speakers. I'm totally humbled to all the speakers ahead of me and the wonderful things they were saying. Sally, Javanka, I agree with you. This is a proud moment in Richmond, and and also, I appreciate the speaker before saying that the tribe also shares this vision, and I just sense that must be true, and I'm glad that was said. Our shorelines have been so heavily abused. This seems like just such a small thing to do in response to that, but also I think that this discussion about value, the value is it's not something you can hold in your hand. It's something you go and visit and spend time with. I think during the pandemic, we all understood this a little bit better than we maybe have in the past, what this might mean. And the value isn't definitely for the city of Richmond, but the whole Bay Area, all of California, and all the many visitors we have from all over the world that love coming here. Anyway, that's about it. And happy birthday, Edward. Thank you very much.
Thank you. The next speaker is Paul Carmen.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
I already spoke, so I'll be very brief. I first want to thank City Attorney Al Shire for really a brilliant summary of what we've been going through the last 20 years. There's been so much inaccurate information and misconceptions thrown around on social media the last couple of days, particularly involving the dollars involved. And he addressed and debunked most of those misconceptions so well. I would recommend anyone to listen to his recorded summary again, and that's what I will do. I will refer people to the city attorney's recording of his summary. We're living on a dying planet, really, and what we're doing today is a moral imperative. I mean, you can't not save Point Muladey. You cannot save the shoreline when we have a biodiversity crisis and a climate crisis. To build out there would just be criminal. And I knew it would never happen because it would be so horrible that I couldn't even imagine it. And it's not going to happen. And I thank council and everyone who's contributed to this wonderful day. Thank you very much.
Thank you. The next speaker is Sean Dunning.
Hello again. An open process and a collaborative process are not necessarily one and the same. Every city council meeting is technically an open process. Folks from the community can say whatever they want, and the city council can decide to completely ignore them. What we're witnessing this morning is simply a celebration of one side winning a battle. The sad and tragic thing about that is, for those who misunderstand my perspective, I'm not against a single person in the room. Every single person speaking on behalf of saving the land and the environment, I deeply agree with. 14 years ago, there was a momentous press conference where some of the same folks in the room today were speaking about an agreement reached between the Giddyville tribe and all these environmentalist groups. There was a sense of momentum, of excitement about preserving the shoreline. And then whatever that was got undone by the next leaders. There's never been a point in the history of Point Muladey where any leader has been able to build enough consensus amongst a large enough group of stakeholders to truly work toward a shared future. So, yeah, I am concerned about the process, but just having an open meeting where people can say whatever they want does not lead to a win-win solution. So, and the idea that the tribe shares the vision of this, let's see where that goes in the next few days and weeks, because I have good reason to believe that's not the case at all. I think that's misrepresenting the tribe's interest, and it's frankly insulting to them. In any case, I want the best for Richmond. I want the best for the shoreline. I'm certainly not opposed to anyone in the room. I just think we can do better. Thank you.
Thank you, and that was our last speaker.
Thank you. Open comment is closed, and it is now time to hear from council members. I will begin with Councilmember McLaughlin.
Okay, I want to begin by, first of all, thanking the city attorney for his report that very much clarified things, and also want to thank all the public speakers for their great comments, both before closed session and now. So I want to start out beyond those thank yous by saying that moving forward with this letter of intent will end years of problems and chaos that the city and community have had to deal with. I myself have been involved with Point Melati and its future going back 20 years. I have fought long and hard, and for the first 4 years I was in office, I was the only voice on the council who was advocating for this site to come into public hands and to remain in public hands. It has been a hard and long fight. And while for years I was the only voice on the council, I wasn't alone in the community. I was side by side with the many great community advocates who never gave up on this dream to turn the land into a major public park with park-friendly amenities, a park that will serve our residents, our visitors, and our planet. A beautiful, ecologically sound park that will serve us all generation after generation. So, after decades of dealing with projects that would harm the community, such as a casino with all the problems attached to that, and a major high-end housing project that would cause great harm to our general fund and to the safety of future residents, the city can now engage with another public agency to create a beautiful park at this stunning, ecologically valuable site. We can now put all the chaos behind us as we usher in a new era. Because of a $36 million state grant to the Park District, we now have a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. This regional park and its amenities will provide enormous environmental, cultural, historic, and recreational benefits. The site is home to osprey, leopard sharks, otters, natural carbon sequestering eelgrass, vital watersheds, and irreplaceable habitat and biodiversity. In addition, the historic and environmental richness of the site provides great learning opportunities, including enhancing education about the climate emergency we are all facing head-on. Add to that the many recreational programs this park will open up for our community, and we see how this LOI clearly sets the stage for an inspirational project. We are saving this land for the public. The East Bay Regional Park District is a public agency of which Richmond is a part. When this land gets transferred into the Park District hands, it becomes public land for all of us. And we need to protect as much public land as possible in these critical days as we transition to a sustainable planet. Finally, after years of staff time reviewing projects with a host of environmental and financial and community impacts of a negative nature, we are now going to be able to work on a great positive park project with the Park District. I am grateful to Nancy Skinner for securing the $36 million grant that is allowing the Park District to purchase this property. I'm also grateful to my colleagues on the council and all other elected officials throughout our region who have and are supporting this pathway that we are embarking on today. And I am thankful for our community and the Ohlone tribes who get it that public land, public parks, and a preserved planet is in all of our interest. So today, we will be voting to turn the page on the many negatives and open the door to implementing a new vision, a realistic vision of building this amazing park. The 50% that was contemplated by the amended judgment that a majority of a previous council put into effect was really fool's gold, which would have left the city and city taxpayers holding the bag and having to bankroll the developer. Instead, today, with this project, we are putting the city on solid financial footing. While the city is waiving the 50% that clearly was fool's gold, the city is being relieved of many responsibilities that have continued to require city money and countless staff time, community time, elected official time. Our time can now be placed on building something healthy and positive rather than having to fight back on projects that bring harm with them. The Park District acknowledges that it is acquiring the property as is, where is, and with all faults condition, and that after closing, the district shall be responsible for environmental remediation, with the Park District indemnifying the city. Now, of course, the city attorney mentioned the SunCal project, which is still on litigation, and our exceptionally strong arguments and how the courts have looked favorably on the city, and we feel that we are going to be very successful in that litigation. The Park District, and that's totally separate from this taking on this letter of intent. The Park District will be taking on all maintenance and security of the property, except for the first year, where we'll be providing up to $400,000. And after that, the Park District will pay for all the maintenance and security. And upon closing, the amended judgment will be dissolved and resolve all past issues and claims between Giddyville and Upstream and the city of Richmond. So we'll finally be rid of this irresponsible settlement taken and made by a previous city council majority that has forced the city to take on all these upkeep expenses, even when the property was in the hands of the tribe and Upstream. So this will save the city millions of dollars. We've been spending up to $1 million annually on maintenance, security, including remediation, and other expenses have included preservation of the historic structures. Relieving the city of these ongoing obligations is a major benefit to Richmond. And we know the Park District is in the business of creating parks and preparing to create parks. So they are the ones who will be in the driver's seat with their partnership with us to create the conditions to create this park for all of us. And the Park District does commit to engage with the city on equity, outreach, and planning, conduct community and stakeholding outreach, and to meet with the city bodies along the way, including the City Council, Recreation and Parks Commission, Planning Commission, and a community advisory group that the council will appoint. So this park with park amenities will ultimately provide a priceless community benefit. In addition, the city will be receiving $1.2 million in transfer tax from the sale of the property, and all of the economic benefits that parks are known to bring, drawing visitors from near and far who bring tourism revenue to local restaurants, hotels, shops, and stores. So this opens the road to achieving our long-time vision. Finally, I want to end, and I think this has been said many times over the past, and I think today or this morning as well. Point Mulati has been called the most beautiful part of the San Francisco Bay no one's ever heard of. We are now at the point where everyone throughout the Bay Area and beyond will come to know Richmond as home to an amazing world-class park. So I want to end here by saying thank you to all the parties in this agreement, the tribe, upstream, the park district. I know we have the park general manager and we have one of the park board directors here. Thank you to the park district in total for all your work. And again, a special, and of course the city of Richmond, thank you to all our staff. And a special thank you again to all those in the community of Richmond for making this dream come true. And we will be voting yes, I believe unanimously. Thank you.
Councilmember Cepeda.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I was almost going to pull my name back because I don't know that I can follow that. But I did want to mention that this has been going on for so many years, and I remember in one of my prior elections, some of the candidates speaking against Point Mulati, but they couldn't find it on the map. I've been to Point Mulati when I was a little kid, and this is my district now. So I go there, and how can someone say something to a project? All that to say, sometimes the details are, or the devil's in the detail. And we got to figure out which is the devil and which is the detail. Something that wasn't mentioned, for example, the 300 million bond, not the item that I brought forward a couple of weeks ago, but another bond that would have been to pay for the infrastructure just for the development there. That $300 million bond would have been paid for by all of the people of Richmond to only be a benefit for those individuals there. Now, I believe in picking up all of our communities, but I don't think it's fair that just one area would have gotten that whole $300 million when we know that we need it everywhere else in Richmond. So how do we justify putting so much money in one place? So again, the details are in the devil's in the detail, but that is one there that hasn't been brought up, and I want to make sure that we put that forward. And with that, I'll let the mayor speak. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Robinson.
That's actually, thanks. Perfect follow-up. That's actually exactly what I was going to mention. I think in some of the online erroneous comments, they really put forward that we were going to, give away this land without getting the jobs and the housing and all these things, all these promises that this project was supposed to get. And it really occurred to me that they weren't talking about the cost of those jobs and those houses, not just the environmental costs that we've already heard about, not just the cost and not doing our part in terms of climate change and protecting biodiversity, but the actual costs. For those possibly temporary jobs, we would be saddling our community with a $300 million at least debt for a private enterprise, not for a police station, not for fire stations that I toured yesterday and saw how desperately they need infrastructure repairs, not for things this city needs, but for a private developer to make profit off of high-end luxury condos. They would saddle us all with more and more taxes. And it wouldn't just be a single cost, a single capital investment, but some of those things we would have to pay ongoing. There's operations costs ongoing. And I just need to underscore that because so often I think our leaders are pushed into a position to do anything for jobs, even when those jobs time and time again don't even materialize. It's usually the promise of jobs. And it gets everybody hoping. And then 5 years down the line when the thing is done, nobody noticed that the jobs never came. But we pay the price. That's the thing that always happens. We pay the price. So, when I look at this, I really look at this as a long time coming, and I'm really thankful for all the work that everyone has done. And yeah, I'm gonna leave it there and let's get this done.
Thank you. Anyone else? If not, I'd like to have a few words, and generally I like to be concise, but in this case, I don't know if I can. While the attorney was explaining the process, someone in the chambers said secrecy, as if the process that we're having here is a secret process. It is not. As anyone knows, or should know, negotiations have to be held in closed sessions. I have had lots of people try to get me to talk about what goes on behind closed doors, but I haven't and I won't because it's the law. The law says I need to keep closed session information in closed session. So something that was secret, because, well, I want to say that this decision is being made in public so that the public has a chance to express their opinion so that we can hear and alter our decisions if it is information that will sway our logic, that will sway our sense of community well-being. But the amended judgment that got us into this situation, in reality, an agreement made by the city and upstream, was a decision that was made in closed session. My constituents who called would, if you remember, heard me say that the decision hasn't been made. It will be made in open session at the next city council. When the next city council meeting came, I discovered that it was already signed, that it was a done deal, and that the public did not have a chance to discuss the pros and cons of it. Now, that was secrecy, and that was done by the former administration. So, I also want to say that, well, a birthday, and I thank you for celebrating this birthday, but a birthday is actually the celebration of a year process. So everything that has happened before this decision is part of the birthday of this decision. So we will be celebrating the birthday of this decision, whichever direction it goes. But it means that there is another year coming that will be a process that we will all have to be a part of, and that when that birthday comes, we can all celebrate however it turns out. Now, many people through the years have been involved in trying to figure out how to preserve Point Melody for the greatest benefit of Richmond's future generations. Our community knows what a priceless asset it is and has stepped forward when they felt its future has been threatened. Intensive development proposals were defeated, a gaming casino, and the SunCal 1,200 housing units that were too intense and would have resulted in hundreds of millions of dollars spent on roads, buildings, and other construction. When SunCal couldn't come forward with the financing and couldn't meet the terms of the agreement, the City Council had the chance to finally go a different direction. We felt we had to go a different direction, not only because of that, but even with the mitigations offered by the developers, not a single project offered adequate protection for the environment and for the proposed residents. Because of previous council actions and bad deals that they had made, we were locked in the agreement requiring us to sell half the property to the Gidville tribe for $400. That wasn't our decision. That was a decision of a previous council. And given them the ability to try and find a developer where the city would have gotten half the sale price. This was 2 years ago. At that time, we said that our vision was to develop the property for park and open space. And we even suggested that the East Bay Regional Park District was one of the primary entities we should look to carrying out this vision. That was on May 24th, 2022. And to do this was going to require agreement from 3 very different entities, the tribe, the park district, and the city. And it was going to require a lot of money. As it turned out, the state of California and our Senator Nancy Skinner stepped forward with a huge contribution. The community owes her a great debt of gratitude for the $36 million that the state has given to the Coastal Conservancy for this purpose. It's almost a miracle that all of this could be done in 2 years. With such important property, with such 3 different parties, these negotiations have been challenging, and maybe that is not so surprising. With 3 parties, one can never be sure who is talking to who. I suppose what bothered me the most along the way was that with the SunCal deal, the purchase price was $45 million, where the city got half the money at $22.5 million. The city has many financial needs, as anyone following our budget knows. The tribe started out thinking that this property value was much greater than $45 million, and also wanted to possibly retain and develop the Winehaven Historic District. The tribe and Park District got an outside appraisal and eventually fixed on a price of $40 million. But they got to that spot only by reducing the city share of 50% down to 0. So the tribe gets $40 million instead of the 22.5, and they got in that they got in the SunCal deal. I and other members of the council had a big problem with this. The city was not directly at the table when things like this were decided, but on the other hand, there's a $36 million from the state to make this happen. So if we don't do this now, when will the opportunity come again? Opportunities do not necessarily recirculate. A fellow teacher of mine, Doug Mayer, shared a fable. I don't know if you know the fable of the $10, where a fisherman catches a fish, he goes to the market, sells it for $10. The market spends the $10 for something else, and then that person spends the $10, and so the $10 circulates through the city so that that $10 actually provides $200 worth of value. And I kind of see us spending our share so that the Gibbville tribe can sell the property to the Park District. In that same vein, we have gotten our share, and we have spent our share for the greater good of the community. And that is by giving our share to the Park District so that this can happen. So there's a monetary value, and then there's a greater value, which is a community value, and that is a value that we invest in trust and with a shared vision of what this park can become. So as the mayor, I feel that my responsibility to make sure that the residents are well served, and in the end, all of the decades where the fate of Point Melati has hung in the balance, it seems best to approve this. The city gets over $1 million in transfer tax. We're spending up to $1 million a year in maintenance and environmental remediation of the property, which the Park District will take over. We will help them for a year, capped at $400,000. $400,000. There will be expenses we will have in preserving the historic Winehaven District, if we kept it. Anyway, I'm getting confused here because it is quite a complicated, just finally, our community is hugely underserved in terms of recreational facilities. We have the most expert entity in the region now as our partner in developing a recreational and an open space plan for this unique property. And they have committed to this property specifically because those are the purposes for which they exist. Now, I'd like to say something further on this point. There are promises and there are commitments. And one thing that I absolutely wanted from the Park District was to make sure that their promises were more than promises, that their promises were commitments. And they have shown that their promises are more than promises, that they are committed by including Section 13 of the LOI language concerning the intent of the two parties to cooperate together, determining stakeholders, developing community advisory group, and developing a planning process and so forth. And also, in Section 2, adding the sentence that city wishes to have similar equitable enforceable rights subordinate to the state's rights. This is not binding, but it does show that a promise is more than a promise, that it is a commitment, and I want to thank everyone involved for making that promise become a commitment. So, as we move forward, in order for this to become a world-class park, it can only happen if our partnership is innovative, creative, and closely aligned. What we've done so far is only the start. As I said, this is the birthday that starts a new process, and it creates an opportunity, and the payoff comes from what we do from here. And the closer we can work with the Park District, the more benefit for Richmond residents and the region at large. This is our challenge, and we are willing and ready to embrace it. So, Councilmember Willis.
I'd like to make a motion when the time is right, but I understand. Yeah, I usually don't make an issue about whoever makes the motion, but given that this goes back to what, even before I was on council in 2004, when I was running for my first seat, the casino issue came up, and I championed, against the casino, and subsequently all the years going forward. It means so much to me to be able to be here with all my colleagues on the council today who are sharing this vision and taking this action. So I will make the motion that says, I move we approve entering into the letter of intent and execution by the mayor with any technical changes made by the city attorney. That is my motion.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Roll call.
Councilmember McLaughlin?
Yes.
Councilmember Robinson?
Yes.
Councilmember Willis?
Yes.
Councilmember Zepeda?
Yes.
And Mayor Martinez.
Yes.
The motion passes with Councilmember Bana and Vice Mayor Jimenez absent.
Great. Thank you to all the community members again.
Oh, yes. Well, yes, I'm having so much fun here that I will adjourn in 2 hours.
Should we get a picture?
Yes, the meeting is adjourned. Now we can get photos.
We could do a group picture. A group picture.
You gotta go.